Rajan. I'm an MBBS student from Government Medical College, Amritsar, and I'll be your host for this session. And first of all, I welcome you all to this episode of the talk show of Mental Health Unit under Rotaract Club of Caduceus. And today's session is being conducted in collaboration with Dr. Guruprasad, who is MD Psychiatry, and he's currently Assistant Professor at Bangalore Medical College and Research Institute. And moreover, he's not just someone who's really qualified, but at the same time, he's really passionate towards this cause. And I warmly welcome you to this episode, sir. It's indeed our pleasure to have you with us today. And we also have student panelists who are really dedicated medical students. We have with us Rotaractor Yamini. She's from Kakatia Medical College, Telangana. We have Rotaractor Srishti from SMBT Medical College. And we have Rotaractor Anushka from MGM Medical College, Navi Mumbai. Thank you so much for joining, everyone. Today's topic for our session is going to be overcoming grief and loss. And just a warning for our audience, this session might be a bit triggering, but this is something that is really essential to be addressed at this moment now more than ever before, because this ongoing pandemic has led us towards facing the harshest of the scenarios, and it's really becoming impossible to cope up for many of us. So without any further ado, we'll be beginning with this session. And I am honestly really looking forward to this because as myself dealing with, so that's this session I feel it could benefit many people. So we'll be beginning. So first of all, I have a question for our student panelist. One of you can unmute yourself and just answer, like, according to you, what are the appropriate ways we can help someone or talk to someone who's dealing with grief?
So hi.
Yamini, would you like to speak? Yeah.
So I think the most important and the only thing you can do for your friend is to simply be there and keep them company so that they know they're not alone in this. And I guess being a good listener and giving them space to vent or just talk. Don't fill the spaces, and for sure don't force them to talk. In case you don't know anything and don't know what to do, just make their favorite cup of tea and sit beside them. At least they know they're not alone.
Thank you so much, Yamini. That was really beautiful what you said. So let's move to our guest, Dr. Guruprasad, sir. So, sir, my first question to you is, how far is grieving really essential?
Good afternoon to all. See, this is a very difficult topic to understand as such.
Yeah.
It's not a very simple one, just as we can talk with any other topic as such. Because this topic is grief, it is the price we pay for love. Means it is the price we pay for love. This is a very taking a lot of your energy, many of your things. We may lose many things just because the word itself is a grieving. It has got multiple things in this grief. As we say, it's a loss. It's a permanent loss of the loved person. This is one way where grief will set in. There can be some examples I would like to quote, just like if somebody has lost their pet. Yes, it can be a part of the grief. Yes, definitely. It's a very important. And somebody loses a job. Yes. So there are many, somebody who didn't get selected to their job in this or during these conditions because of financial or so many constraints are there. Yes, it could also lead to a grief. So it has got some stages also in grieving. So sooner or later, every person is going to face this word called as a grief, but it is very difficult to understand. But only you can pass through this as a journey, then only you will be able to go through what grief is. Because within 10 days I lost my grandfather, and within 2 days back I lost one of my nephew also, who was hardly 36 years. uh, so with some experience, yes, I am able to cope, but it may not be the same with my parents or with my mother or with my brother who are not into the medical field. So I would like to post you like, yes, already few have answered like brief what your reactions could be and how you have to go through about it. Maybe what would be the best to be done when the suddenly the grief has set in? How to go about it? Maybe anybody can answer this. That would be good enough for me.
Um, hello, sir. I'm Anushka. I would like to try to answer this question.
Okay.
Um, I would like to start by saying that nothing in this life can be predictable. It's like very unpredictable, and we many times quote by saying that life isn't fair. So at a time when you do not expect and something unexpected happens, first and foremost, do not punish yourself or force yourself. Oh, this has happened because of me. Just be in the moment and try to take care of yourself and your loved ones, because I think that is the time they might be needing you the most.
Thank you so much, Anushka. And even I would like to add something like I lost someone who was really close to me, a family member, and he was like 40 years of age. So that was kind of the first time I experienced a loss, and it was really hard for me to cope. And like for the first day I just felt like lifeless, completely purposeless, and I just thought that like I just can't live this way. I just didn't know what was exactly happening. So I just next day I just decided to shut it all off and just distract myself. But gradually, really frequently, I started having nightmares of losing others who were really close to me. So I that's why this session that really means so much to me, because I feel like it's important for us to know how to process that, like instead of just shutting them away. So yeah.
Yes. I I really appreciate you. At least you are able to open up what you have faced through it. This, because this grief is there in even in animals also, who are lived in herd community. This also process where a baby is lost, or when the hunter comes and shoots away the baby, or whatever the animal or the part of the herd. So then immediately when they go away, they will come back and they will try to see where their fellow mate is or their fellow man is there. So they will try to look at it. So this is not just in only in humans what we are seeing this grief. It's a natural process. Grief is a natural process, but many of them uh, don't have courage to talk about death. It requires a lot of courage, somebody to talk about death. You might guess this when you go back to your home or just try to talk about death, how comfortable they are able to speak. You can try this as an experiment and see what and how these things are. Because you come to know, like most of us, many of the time it can induce a fear, and they don't want to discuss this even with their kids or with their family members, because they feel like they are going to try and induce some kind of fear in them. This can be very, very triggering factor for many of them. You can try this. Many of the parents won't talk about deaths. They are not comfortable. But it doesn't mean like we should not talk. It's an opportunity, so that the more if you are open and to talk about it, it's a very, very important thing. I would like to quote you some things like in grieving, there are some stages like shock. Shock in the sense whenever if we heard like a friend of mine or my nephew or somebody who just passed away, would you be like to answer this kind of in the shock? What may happen? Can anybody answer this?
I think shock here refers to emotional shock and not the medical shock, of course. But of course, if it's an unexpected death, one might feel a sense of shock because obviously you will not be expecting this news, and this would likely be the first stage of grief because this is the time that you actually get the news, and then you're in the process of understanding what is actually going on, understanding what has happened. So, of course, shock will be there, and I think getting over that initial shock takes time. And that feeling is something that you'll always remember because that's the moment that you actually get the news.
Yes, shock can happen to any person in such a case. Yes, thank you, Srishti. And in this shock phase, many of the people you might have seen, whenever they heard about the news, they just faint. They just lose their kind of a thing, and many of them faint. And repeatedly, once they are woke up, and if you try to again talk to them or back to their reality, what the situation is, again they may faint. So these things are quite happening in most of the people. What we have seen is so. Yes, as grieving, there are few things like if it is a spaced one, for example, if they give an opportunity like before the actual death is happening, for example, if one of the family member, you know that they are going through a cancer, they might stay for 6 months or another 7 or 8 months or something like that. So in this phase, what might happen during this process of grief? Already like they are in the deathbed, they may be going to die maybe 3 or 6 months or 1 year or something like that. The doctor has given some time or deadline. How it will be going through this grief? Is it the same thing as it is with the suddenly a person has collapsed or sudden death which has happened, or how is it different? Can anybody try and give some insight into this?
Yeah, so I actually wanted to quote something based on that. Like, yeah, the news of my family member that came like a shock to us, and actually that was shocking for me because yeah, I literally fainted. And because when we already know that someone is in a terminal condition, we are already mentally prepared, I feel. But when we are not expecting that, that actually comes to us as a shock, and that actually really hits us hard. So that's what I feel.
Yeah. Will you be able to accept? My next question.
Yeah, I wasn't ready to accept that. I just kept telling myself, no, it can't be real because he was so
Yeah.
healthy. And yeah,
How is it different in death, like in the over in the deathbed, example, 3 months or 6 months, or terminal such case?
like in that case, we are already kind of mentally prepared that that person might eventually just pass. So that doesn't really comes on as a shock.
Yeah. So it doesn't come as a shock, but grief has already been set in when they have informed like they are in the terminal phase, or they are going to die maybe in whatever the stipulated time. So that means the grieving will keep continuously on the day-to-day basis in that case, but not in the sudden event when it has occurred. So this we should know the difference, because both the process are totally different. But the process is the journey whoever has to undergo. Already those who have faced it, for example, a terminally ill patient, whenever they go for a doctor's checkup, they may say, how is their condition? What is their... See, some part of grief again occurs. So it repeatedly occurs, and the time when it comes, when the person actually passed away, he may not feel so much heavy in his heart. Like he might feel, yes, this is the process, this is the time which has come. Because life and death, these are very unpredictable, and lot of uncertainty do exist with this process of life and death. This, if any person knows about this, then they may be a little bit stable how to handle this process. During the process of this shock, we may not be able to accept things like he has died. No, it is impossible. He is unable to die. So I can just quote you an example. Like last year when we were in the hospital, husband was admitted due to COVID, and after a few days, wife was also got admitted. But he was in under some other hospital, and the wife was in the another hospital. So there is a gap of at least some 8 to 10 kilometers between these two hospitals. So during that time, I got a news, like after this lady got admitted, some 4 5 days later, I got a call, which I don't know the number at all. And they said like, are you Dr. Guru? Yes, I said, yes. And they said like, I need a favor from you. Okay. It was around 9 or 9:30 when I was having my dinner. So they said like, sir, one of my relative has passed away and so and so. And he was young, hardly some 32 or 34 years, young male of his middle age. And he said like, he has passed away, and his wife is admitted in this hospital so and so of yours. And she has got a baby of 1.5 year old. And what to do? Yes, it's shocking to us also, because I don't know what the person is, and that person was battling for his life for a period of already 10 to 12 days over. And finally, I expressed my condolence to the person I was talking, and he asked me, how can I help lead the child or admitted hospital? I said, okay, I'll try and see what best we can do. And before what my plan was, I just gave him, what would you like to do? See, rather than what we doing, it is the what family want to do will be of more greater importance. It is not me. So I just put the question to them, and they said like, she's still pretty young, and the baby is there. I don't want to disturb her in the night, because it's already 9:30 in the night, and the whole night she may not be able to tolerate, because she is also in the COVID situation. And how she may she may not be able to take care of the baby, or so many things have come up. And based on that, the family member, they said like, sir, we will not try to disclose this matter to her. Then I said, okay, fine. Then how do you want to disclose? Then they said like, morning we will disclose her. Okay, I asked, by what time? Maybe by 7 or 8 o'clock. Okay, I just gave them, by 7 or 8 o'clock, they might be having with the process of that be good enough. I just gave a suggestion. So asked, is it possible like we will update about the status of the husband, like he's in the ICU, and how is his condition to her in this meantime? And because not through the phone was there, but still a person who goes to her and speaking in the COVID ward may be a bit better. We took the help of the sister, and yeah, our elderly sister who was really experienced, and she told like, sir, we will go and just talk to her, like his condition is quite serious, and it is not so easy, but anyhow they are trying to save his life as much as possible. Whatever the best is, it can be done in the ICU setting. And once they informed, and she felt like, okay, let the doctors do their own best, and I will pray to the Lord to help my husband to come out of this bad situation. Yes, it was fine. It took at least 10:30 or 10:45 to come up with all these things. And in the morning, and we had a tough time. Okay, what happens after this explore means giving information like your loved one is no more in this world. Um, how do you go about it? In the morning, this situation was okay. I'll tell you the other part of it. And how do you go about it? Maybe you. Hello.
Yeah, so we
Yes.
kind of lost you in between. Yeah.
Now, how do you go about
S-
with this situation? Yes, you are in a denial phase. You are unable to accept things, and we
yeah.
can't. We are still saying like he's not lost. He's there. He is. I just spoke to him just 1 hour back or 2 hour back. How can he just leave
Yeah.
me? And see, these are the questions which definitely arise in every person's mind. And how do you go about this after knowing like that person is becoming a denial or he's not accepting what things are there? How do you go about this?
Yeah, I feel like I was someone who has been there, and that was kind of, it was more like I didn't want to accept that fact. And then I just gradually kind of had to accept it. But at the same time, I just didn't want to think that. I didn't want to think about all the memories I had with that person, because that felt so triggering. That person was a part of my life, and he's not there anymore. So I actually, literally, that's why I wanted this session to like help people, like how to go about this phase,
Yes, yes.
because yeah.
Thank you. What you said is absolutely right. How you felt is the more important process. This is a process of grief. This is not a yes or no questions. There is nothing right or wrong in this process. Everything seems whatever they felt is right. Yes, that is right. And how do you accept things? For example, there is a dead body, or the husband is in the other hospital, and I am working in this hospital. And this lady, yes, we have to reveal this the important thing about like we have lost him during the process of his struggle and his hardship. So after that, yes, she was shouting, she was very much crying, and yes, there may be different ways of expressing. Our behavior may change, or we may not talk, some may talk, something like this. After this, how are you going to take the next step?
I feel that's something kind of really hard, but in my case, I felt that has to come from within me, because no matter what someone says, it doesn't matter as long as I don't feel like that. As long as, because I was at that time, I was feeling like, what's the point of even living? What's the point of life? And gradually, I just thought, no, I just have to put myself together. I just have to do something. I need to work. I need to focus on what's important for me right now. I just have to stop thinking about all this. That was what I
But
did.
yes, how do you accept things like he is no more or he's dead? How do you accept that?
I feel like it's sometimes you just initially have to like be there for that person, that it's okay. But gradually you just have to tell him that, yeah, you have to accept it, that person is no more. And there's just no use of thinking that person is alive and that person is no more. And at the same time, you are putting yourself in a vicious circle.
Mm, right. See, we had a dilemma in the hospital setting, like it was a COVID body, and to we had a session like we put it in the WhatsApp group stating like we require your permission so as to okay, how many agree so that the lady has to see the dead body for the final rites, and how many disagree not to see the dead body?
Sorry, sir, our meeting is about to end. Can you join again using this
Oh,
link?
oh,
I'm so
oh.
sorry for the inconvenience.
Yes, we'll do that. Hi, thank you for reminding. Dead body is in the other hospital, patient is in the other hospital. How many of you would like to agree to see the dead body, and how many of you disagree?
I think that in
Right or
ordinary
wrong?
circumstances, hello.
Yes.
I think that
Yeah, Srishti?
in ordinary circumstances, we would have to hand over the body to the relatives. However, given that it's a COVID case, it would not be safe to uh, give the relatives the body or let the woman see the body.
Yeah, but the wife is there in the other hospital, and how to go about this? It's a very tricky situation.
I think she should at least get to see it from a distance so that she get a closure, and it will be easier for her to understand that it is actually happened.
Okay, all right. Yes, Yamini. Okay. Anybody else? One is agreeing, one is disagreeing. Yeah. How many? How many of you are agree to show the dead body? How many of you disagree? There's nothing wrong or right in this. I just want some numbers.
So I would again
Right.
like to second Yamini's point that it would give them a better closure if they could see it from a distance.
Okay. Okay. Two or four.
Like, honestly, if that's someone close to me, I won't allow them to. But that is something important, so that's kind of serious dilemma, like what should be done. Because obviously that can actually impact, they are not healthy, that can actually impact them to like know about that. So
Yeah.
that's quite a dilemma.
So what's so yes, you have to come out with yes or no now with this dilemma. Whether you want to show the
Yeah,
body or not, because she is also under treatment. She is also undergoing through the process of treatment. She was already on the 6th or 7th day, and we cannot let her go outside also. Yes.
yeah, she kind of has to.
Has to. Okay. How many of you disagree? Nobody to disagree here. This is a COVID time. Okay. If I think all of you are agreeing to show the dead body to the person.
I'm
Yeah.
not.
Okay.
I'm
All
not.
right. There was some discussion with status with the hospitals, and they were ready agreeing to show the dead body, because who will go, will bring the body, and who will show. And whether the administrator gives or not, I just went to the medical college, and I asked the forensic department a permission, and they said like, yes, you can take the body. And I requested the person who was driving the car and his here's van, and I requested him, please give at least 5 minutes to visit this last rites of the wife. And with some other things, he agreed. Okay, I should really thank to him, and he came along with me, and we the moment we came inside the hospital and readied, we had asked the sister to bring her to the place where she can see. And when she came, she was literally, we can't express how she was. And there are I have arranged at least three sisters to be along with her, because something might go wrong with her. It may be again loss of something towards the baby. So in such care, we brought her down, and she asked politely, can I see the body? Yes, we opened the doors, and we removed the dead body, and we kept her, and she asked me, can I touch it? I said, definitely, you can. And she touched the feet, and she showed her son, like, this is the final rites, what your father is. You just see him for the last time. And it's a very horrible scene for me to explain, and very difficult to digest also. And the moment she holded his legs, and she cried, and it's my last rites to you, and yes, and yeah, the face and other things. Yeah, I was there only, wearing a part of the, see, these administrative issues, whenever they come up, they held us in between. But what I did was, he's not my relative, I don't know this person or that person. But what my mind it came, it was, this is the last right of this person. If in case, if this wife, if she doesn't see the dead body, what will happen to her in her lifetime? What it may happen?
Yeah.
What it may happen?
Like, on a personal note, like when it was my uncle who passed, so his son was in US for the past 2 years, and I kept thinking, like, what would be his condition to know that he couldn't see his father for the last time. So yeah, that's something really hard, and that's why I answered yes, because no matter what, that person would obviously wish to see their loved ones for the last time.
Yes. No, what might happen if they are not really eyewitnessed the dead body for the last time? If they don't
I feel
eyewitness, what may happen?
that might lead to denial, maybe. They might find it hard to get the necessary closure for the person they lost. They might just get stuck in that vicious circle.
Yes, definitely true. If they get stuck, they will lose the energy again and again. The process of grieving may not be complete as such. So during this period, I'll just quote an example. Like, there was a lady who had lost her son by the age of 7 years, and she made a vow, like every day she will climb up the hill to see his graveyard and again come back. She holded this even when she had other children, grandchildren, so many there. Even in the old age, also she used to climb up and climb down, but she was holding on to that. See, I'm just giving an example. The moment if the closures, and if we make some promises like I will do this until I'm alive or something like that, this really, to what extent it may be useful, we don't know. See, the most of the time she spent the time with the grave, where she could have spent with the living persons. Is it possible? See, the living persons would have been got some time rather than the time which has been lost, or because she's holding it so tightly that you cannot ask her to go through the next step. This is what happens when, if grief is not gone through the process, we will get stuck. This is very, very important point. So I had to fight with the administrators, like, no matter whatever it is, I'm just going there wearing PPE kit, took the body and came to the hospital, showed it for the last time. And in between, there was some confusion, like, can we take the wife to the cremation and we can show her the body there or something like that. And for this discussion, she might go wrong, or she may just turn around, or because others are not infected, they are all non-COVID for them. And here she is COVID patient. So how to take her? So then we decided, no, whatever it matters, even 5 minutes is more grateful to that lady. So in her lifetime, she can have the process very easily with her mindset. So there is a shock, numbness, and denial. All these are trying to set in, and immediately acceptance will not be there so easily for few days. Over a period of time, it will try to set in very slowly. So what we are seeing is about the grief. Is there anything, something called as complicated grief?
Yes, I believe
I
that
am not
there is.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely. What we are telling is about the grief is about the simple or a grief which has got all these process like denial, shock, numbness, denial, and then about the what is that? Something called as fantasy or guilt. We fantasizing means like he may come back, or he will be alive, or they may be getting some kind of dreams. In the dreams, they might be visualizing like he's calling me to come to the heaven or abode, or something of these kind of things might come up. This is about the fantasy and the guilt. There is something called as a release of grief. For example, when a man is when their family member is died and man is sitting and crying, how many people will agree to this statement? You're a grown up man, you should not cry. How many people will agree like whether he has to cry, and how many will disagree he should not cry?
I feel like it's important to cry because he has to process that. He has to, and he
Do
cannot
you agree?
process those emotions as long as they remain suppressed.
Okay,
So
Akank,
I
you
feel
agree, so that he can cry. What about others?
I agree. He can, he should.
Okay, okay, right. Anybody else?
I agree as well. I mean, grief is grief no matter what, how old you are. You're always going to feel sad when your loved one leaves you.
Yeah. This is about the gender. Like he's a male. He's a very yes. There are so many people who now coming out like yes. In many of the situation, in the odd situation, when you are with the non-medical people, when you go to a funeral or a cremation ground, you'll be able to see that these kind of situations which comes on very easily. Like they will all be telling like you should not cry, you're a man, and you have got see, there is nothing to do with what do you think this crying, what kind of is it showing any weakness or any what do you say? You're a man, you should not cry.
it's not a weakness because we are humans and we are made of all those emotions, and there's no gender to express those emotions.
Very nicely said. It's all kind of emotions. Emotions can be some maybe crying for them. See, the pain can be in any different formats which it can be shown away. All right. So this release of grief is very important. And if somebody doesn't cry up for this kind of a thing, there are a few cases which we have seen like after 2 years or 3 years down the lane, they were not very happy. But sometimes when they express like, I should have cried at the time when I have not cried when my mom passed or whatever the things are there. And once they start crying and once they finish that process, they feel like they are being relieved by their heavy weights of those emotions which are carrying up in the went up, and it will last for many days as such. So then something will come up with your memory. So there will be sometimes called as a painful memories. And there is one more last stage would be acceptance and reorganization or learning to live again. So can anybody narrate like what may be a complicated grief? Whatever you feel, you can tell.
Okay, so I would like to quote like what I have felt. So it for me it was complicated because initially I wanted to deny that. I didn't want to accept that. I just kind of made myself that it's a dream, it's not true. And then like next day I decided, okay, I have to accept it no matter what. But I every time I used to think about that, it just used to trigger so many emotions, so many memories, which I just wanted to shut them off. And that so I just started distracting myself, and I just never let any kind of thoughts enter my mind. But when I tried sleeping, everything, it was because I had no work to do at that time. I couldn't sleep for many days, and when I slept, I used to have all sorts of nightmares regarding losing others who I loved. So I don't know if that's complicated, but that was like,
That's okay. See, grief can become complicated if the things are not passing through the stages. Some people may be very emotionally attached to that person, some may not. So it all depends how you have been brought up, and if somebody has disclosed about the matter about the death and other things, if they are not discussed, then it could be very difficult for them to grieve or mourn or to go ahead with the process itself. That's there. That's really a thing. What I mean to say. And see, if a grief has to become a complicated, what should be the age? For example, if mother passes away, what can happen to the children? Will it be a complicated grief or just a normal grief?
I think it will be complicated because as a child, you never thought of death. And so it could be
Yeah.
complicated to deal with all sorts of emotions.
For example, see, a mother has died and the children are there, and a child is there, and when it is playing, it got a hurt or something, and it will cry for a mother. Yes, I need my mother. Or if father is beating him or scolding him, no, I want my mother to stop him, not to beat me or to protect me. So that means these are all will be there in the memories, and it will be little bit. See, we as adults we can understand, like, yes, she's no more. There's no point in calling her or something like that. We may feel, but it may not be the case with the children. So one is about the complicated grief is with the children. What other age maybe you can think of now? Like it can become complicated.
It can be complicated, I feel, for the people who are old, because at that age, that is kind of tender age for like all sorts of emotions. Like you've already been through so much in your life, and it's the age when you are not expecting to just face all sorts of grief.
There is one quote like is Putra Shokam Mahashokam. Putra Shokam Mahashokam means whenever you lose your own children in front of their parents, it will be always there. It will be hurting those hearts till they end up. Is that true?
Yes, so I
I
believe it
feel
is.
this is true. Yeah.
Yes. So try to remember, if parents die with the children, because children has to grow. Their nature is to grow and evolve and to widen their spaces. But for parents, their whole life is with the kid, and if that is lost, they'll be just like a vegetables, just like they are just staying, but they may not be in touch with the actual real world. So there it can lead on to some anger or some kind of depression, which can also lead on to this. Hmm. Any other age group or any other things which you find like it could be a um, complicated grief?
I feel like it could be at any age group based on your situation. Like, have you ever met with such an incident before, and how emotionally sensitive person you are? And so, yeah.
Yes, if the process of any grief which has been withholded, the person may end up with going for complicated grief or prolonged grief, which may again lead into some kind of depression kind of a settings, or exaggerated grief reactions, or masked grief reactions. All these things, or any delayed kind of reactions of this process of this grief, which can again lead into a process of severe depression, which may end up in not doing anything. They sit at home, they may not be concentrating, they'll not move on even after 6 months of or even 1 year. Usually the grief sets in, and usually within 2 to 3 months or 6 months they will overcome. Do you think, because many some if they are not very well handled this process of grief, they can end up with either severe depression or post-traumatic stress disorder or panic attacks or something. These are mental conditions may get deteriorated in some of them. So it's always better to talk about death and about its whereabouts and about the grief situations. So in these situations, it really a hard task to undergo. But only thing is, there is no any simple or shortcut for this. It is just the process of journey how you should go through it. So during these kind of for example, yes, these complicated grief, when we are trying, it is a very difficult thing. So in such cases also, because sometimes complicated means it is difficult to analyze and understand. We may not be able to explain how these things are working. That is how this term called as complicated will be entering up. Yes. Any other questions, or you can
Yeah,
tell
so
about?
yeah, like, so right now many families, they are losing the people, their loved ones, and like because of COVID, like some it's sometimes many people are already affected, and you lose someone and you are already waiting for someone else to just lose you. So I feel like I really feel like knowing what can be done in such cases, because I personally I was in this situation, and yeah, that was very scary. And even I feel like loss of a person, it just gives you that lifelong fear that you might lose others, and you just don't want to accept that. So how is it
Yes.
possible to healthily
Yes.
cope up with these situations?
Yes, Akanksha, what you are saying is about it's going to induce a fear, like I may lose any other family member, or what may happen to others whom I loved. Yes, definitely these are going to be key points for any other person, and they will become more overtly cautious for anything to be done. Because during last 2 weeks back only, I had a case where yes, they lost their brother-in-law, and that person was a doctor, and she had become over cautious, and she did not sleep for a few weeks, like 3 to 4 weeks, and she set in for a acute psychosis. So we have to rush. We have to during the hospital stay only, we need to request and we need to sedate her for a period of some 3 to 4 days over a period, so that she come back to her normal status. So I just mean, like, being as a doctor, you will be going to see these cases again on and on, because it becomes a part of parcel of our life. Death is a part of life. Death is not something totally different. If somebody talks about death and whereabouts of it, it will help us to overcome these situations. And the best part is, whenever death happens, it's in culture or in their religion, it varies from countries to country, different places to places, how they mourn and how the process happens. For example, they may burn, or they may bury, or some may be having a sky burial. Sky burial means they will be put onto the top of the hill, where the body will be eaten up by the eagles or the birds, so that there is this kind of process is also there. So some may cremate, or means burn the body. So after this process, they will be called up for, like, after some meeting will be there. For example, like in Hindus, they may call up by either 10th day or 11th day, so that they will be doing the process of Shraddha. What they actually do in that process, can anybody highlight that?
Hello, can you hear?
Yes, yes, yes.
So I was just saying that's our way to show that
Yeah, yeah,
we
now.
we
No, what happened? What actually they do in that process of meeting? They all collectively meet after some
they
days. For
share
example, after
they
one
share
week.
the memories they shared with that person. That
Yes.
that means that they're still alive in our memories, right? So just they're telling how we still respect them and we still remember them.
Okay, that is a very key important point. Like how we remember them, and talking something good about that person will always be more helpful to grief, because the importance of that person has to be shown. How you are connected with that person, and there should be some means be done when the person has left also. See, the body may just leave. If somebody believes that there is a soul, yes, soul has gone. But again, it may take a life, or there will be some other process of life has gone and it has been stuck there. So the process is of helping us how we are connected with that person who left us. For example, there will be a good memories, there are good things. So in this process of this meeting, they will share their ideas. They will yes. I would like to know from you people, like there are so many instruments or things which were used by that person. What you would like to do with that? The person is no more, and there is a bureau of gadgets or so many things, and his clothes and whatever the things are, his books or his used laptops or so many things are there which are not being which are his own. And what do you want to do with those things?
I think most things should be donated, and then you can keep a few things that are like very close to you or that are personal to you as memories, and the rest of the things you can donate.
Okay, one is about the donation. Second thing is, would you like to reuse it in your daily life, or would you like to segregate it and keep it locked or something like
I think
I feel like, yeah,
yes, tell it is.
that? Yes, yeah.
yeah, I mean, you can go ahead.
For me, sometimes when I feel low or something, I wrap myself around with my grandfather's shawl. It's not that I use every day, but sometimes when I'm low and I feel like there's nothing helping me, I just sleep with it. I mean, it gives me an strength. So I feel like there's some things you need to keep just
Yeah.
because there's sometimes in this real world we won't get. So I think we should actually keep some.
Yes. Very nicely said. See, the humans, we have got all those five senses. All those five senses which are related to work, you can use and get the satisfaction, like what that person was meant to you. And when you are feeling sad, you can also share your views. When you are feeling good, you can also share that that person is still alive, and you'll be able to share, like I received so and so, or I was very hurt badly so and so. They'll keep talking, or they'll keep also telling to those departed souls. So in such cases, it is always there were some instances or some cases which we have seen, like after their children's death, they have locked the room, they have not opened, and they have not used those items and whatever this. And some people may also doesn't put the photo on their wall and put the garland, because they think like, if I put every day, I'll see that photo, and every day I'll become more depressed and something like that. What do you think about these?
So, sir, regarding all this, I feel like it's mostly depends from varies from person to person. Like honestly, I wouldn't want to keep the belongings of a loved one who has died, because I don't want to like remember each day of my life that person is no more.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe I don't want to process it. I'm not sure.
Okay. All right. That's a good way of expressing. And See, if the person has left with a positive message, and if it is going to give a courage, and it is going to give some self-confidence like that, would you like to use those gadgets or instruments or the things of theirs?
Uh, I don't think so. Like, I would want to do that. That
Okay.
person will
For example,
still,
you can go, yeah.
like, yeah, that person, yeah, that his memories, all that, his words, they will always stay with me. But still, I won't want to do that because obviously that's going to bring in all sorts of emotions that I don't want to face like every time.
Yeah, the more you face, the more you become stronger and more you become hard, and then you can go ahead. These are a suggestion. This is not a very hard and fast tool, but to overcome these, you have to get faced. You have to face this. If we cannot face it, later on where we start, a person had asked me, like, can we change our house? Because death has happened, and can we change our house during COVID time? They asked me, what is good for you?
Like, that won't be possible to change the entire house, I suppose.
No, they are shifting from this house to some other house. This is their own house. They want to shift to some rented home for a few
Like,
months. Will it be good enough or not? Or what is it?
maybe for a while that might be good enough as long as they kind of want to escape that, but eventually they have to face it.
Yes, for which my answer was that lady who lost the husband. She asked me, "Shall I put the photo of my husband in the room or hall or not?" I just, what is your feeling? She said, as you said, I don't want to get these things done again and again or get remembered. Uh, so then later after a discussion, then she felt like, and she also asked, she wanted to, okay, if somebody believes if I want to get some shanti or peace of mind, everybody wants to go and sit up in the Himalayas and do meditation so that they become very peaceful. Is that possible?
No, that's definitely impossible.
So the same thing it also applies here. So you need not change the home from this home to the other home. See, if your mindset is not able to accept things and to change, whether you live in a palace or you live in whatever the things, it will be the same. Things are not going to change us. Things can help us, or your gadgets can help us in doing some works, that's all. But your mind process or your things are very, very important. So that we have to keep it alive.
Sir, my last question to you is like when we lose someone that might make us kind of purposeless, lifeless, that might make us feel what's the point of living. So for such people, like how can we help them because they might not want to accept that help?
It's not like everybody needs kind of help, but help, what I would like to, you need not suggest or you need not tell them or you need not advise. Those are the secondary things. Most of the time with grief, it is how you react is more important. How you feel is more important. How you acknowledge these emotions are very, very important. And over that process, how you want to carry out the process of this grieving. You are right on your own path. So all these stages will be in ups and downs, and it can be at multiple phases, and this can turn into from days to few months also. the more is very important is a kind of support. Whenever they are asking or whenever you feel like they need you or something like that, you can be present there. See, just for your example, I am just quoting that dead body thing. See, I am nowhere related to any of those persons. I don't know any of them personally. But I got so much of hindrances. My family started asking, why you have to go, that too on Sunday, why you have to go, and to take that body, why you should wear PPE kit. So many questions were there. I just said, yes, I have to go. And to answer them, it would take a toll on you. In such case, we have to be very wise enough to make decisions and to go about it. Yes, it took nearly 4-5 hours of that whole day, and after coming back, yes, I was not feeling very into, but still, we have to keep ourselves to that level. She was asking about what is the purpose of living after this person has been lost, which is not there. See, for these, there are many examples because I have seen them. There will be something called as a meaning. Meaning to the life will evolve after some person passes away. That means if you are actually going through the process of grief, you get some again new ideas, new creativity, new solutions, and new problems will be there to run the life show. It will not be the same. For example, if a father has lost and she has to become both father and mother, there are certain questions like she asked, like, what should I say to my child? He is a 1.5-year old or 2 years old kid now, and the moment he listens to the horn, any horn, he will say, "Father is coming, father is coming," and she will be immediately pinched in the heart, and she will cry. The lady, because I seen her over the period of many months, and I am able to recall this. So in that phase, she asked me, I will tell, what do you say when the child is asking, like whenever there is a honk? And she told, when the child says, I will distract him, or I will say like he has gone out, he may come later or something like that. And I kept quiet. What about the photo? Later on, she agreed to put a photo and garland so that it's better not to put it, because one or the other day the child will come to know like his father is no more from the third person, not from the same family member. Then she thought, yes, better to talk with the child and to relate it emotionally and experientially, rather than the child getting something else which can hurt their emotions in the later part of life, which will be staying with that child for lifelong. So in such case, and she said like, yes, your father has left us, he has been with the God, and after many discussions, then now she is able to tell to the child like, your father has left us, and his soul is with the God. Whenever we want him, we can call him, and he is a beautiful person, he has loved you. And telling something good, this is what I say. Whenever a condolences or a meeting happens, we should talk more about the person, what he has done to us, and without him, how lost we are, and what are the emptiness. For example, there are stones in the river. For example, if you remove a stone from a river, what will happen to that space? What will happen?
That's kind of hard to answer
No. If
because
you remove a stone from a river, what will happen to that space?
It will get filled with
that
water.
Yes, that means it is going to fill. That means there is nothing in the world which can be left as empty as it is. Did you get my point?
uh, yeah, that was like really beautifully quoted. Yeah.
Nothing in life which can be emptied until and unless you are so strong that no thought should come and it should be completely zero. which is what these yogis and the or the highest level of achievement of the persons, they'll be doing it. It's not for the common man. There are few techniques like every day they do exercises and meditation or so many things to get relief of the grief. Yes, the grief, it should be associated with the person, about his belongings, about his things, about his what talks he has made and what things. Yes, you need to acknowledge all of those things. You need not keep it to yourself, or need not express or need not expose, means you will be under more of risk to undergoing through a complicated grief. Is there any health hazard if grief becomes very complicated or a chronic? Is there any health hazard?
I feel like suppressing all those emotions, not expressing them, that would definitely eventually lead to health hazards. And
Like
as
what?
for our,
Like what?
as
If there is a health hazard, what can be the health hazards? If you name it, it will be very useful.
I feel like it's not just mental but physical as well, because I have been like kind of searching a lot about that because I have kind of an autoimmune condition. So I learned that suppressed emotions, they kind of lead to your body expressing all sorts of diseases. So it's not just depression, psychosis, it could be something physical as well, like as far as I know.
Yes, it can lead into somatic complaint, depression, illness, panic attacks, traumatic stress disorder, or discussing an idea on to if grief is not happening, quality of life is going to deteriorate. Any other questions?
That's pretty much it from my side. And yeah, that was really beautiful and that was so enlightening. Like, as a person who's dealing with the same, I felt so much of it. That was so helpful for me. So, yeah, thank you so much, sir, for that. Yeah, I would like to request our student panelists if you guys would like to add something.
Okay, this is the one of the book which was written by a psychiatrist, Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. We try to find some kind of meaning whenever we are not in the phase, like what is the purpose of life and what do you do, because he stays in the concentration camps for a period of 3 years, how survived, what you underwent, and how many dead bodies he had seen. Based on that, he tries to recollect and wrote a very beautiful book. You can go through this whenever you have a time of this. Okay, it is available in the internet also. Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning.
Thank you so much for sharing that, sir. Uh, I was saying thank you so much, sir, for sharing that. And yeah, I would like to request our student panelists if you guys would like to add something.
I think that whenever you particularly are going through grief and you feel that you're not able to cope with it, you should seek professional help. Or if you find that some of your loved ones are not able to cope with their grief, you should suggest them to seek professional help, because psychiatrists and therapists are better equipped to help them than their loved ones might be. Also, I think grieving is like a completely natural process, so you should not, repress any of those emotions. You should feel them, and you should possibly share them with your loved ones, and that will help you to deal with it better. So yeah, that's it from my end.
That was really beautifully quoted. Thank you so much for sharing that. And yeah, I would like to thank you, sir. Thank you so much for being here with us and for this enlightening session. And I hope all those who would be watching this recording of this session and all those who were here with us would have been benefited from this. That was really, really beautiful. Thank you so much, sir.